Okay, so let me just log into the machine. Okay, so if you see Docker -v, right? So it will be the current versions of Docker, which version of Docker is installed on your machine. Okay, so last class we saw how to pull out the images and how we can create the container and how you can uh, find the exact commands and how you can use the Docker's manual, because see there are almost around hundreds of commands. We cannot remember everything, right? So you should know how you can easily use the Docker manuals to remember the commands, as well as whenever you need it you can easily find it and execute it, right? So what I had said yesterday in last class, so you can use Docker hyphen hyphen help to find out the exact details about the Docker. So if you do here, it gives you the details about the Docker, how you can use it. And as I had told you in last class, it has two sections. One is the management commands and then is the commands. So these commands actually is the sub command of these management commands. Okay, so last classes we had discussed about this image management command and the container command. Okay, so I had just given you the basics of that, but today we'll see how extensively we can use these management commands and create multiple other containers, and we'll play around it. Okay, so let me just show you this. Okay, Harsha, for you I think you'll not understand what exactly I'm going to say it, because you don't know what is Docker and what is container and how it is being done.
Yes, I understand that, Ranjit. So no worries. Please
Yes.
go ahead. So
Okay.
no complaints on that.
Okay, thank you. So, what I'm going to show you today, so let's see the more details about the Docker container. Okay, so if you do Docker container, okay, and then hyphen hyphen help, so it will give you the exact command list of this container management command. This is the management command, and this is the Docker, the command, the best tool which we are going to use. Docker, then management command. Let's see what are there in the container management command. So what it does actually, it manages the containers, and these are the commands with respect to container management command. Okay, so here last class what we had seen run, we had seen rm, we had seen ls. Okay, all these three we had seen so far. Okay, only the basics things. Okay, so when we'll see this run command, it is actually to run a command in a new container. So whenever you execute a run command, what it will do, it will create a container, do the task, whatever the sequence or whatever the recipe or template you have created as part of the image, that will be executed, and then it will give us the result, right? So let's see what are other options available in the run command. If you want to see more details about run, then simply you can execute docker container run hyphen hyphen help. So it will give you the other options. Okay, so these are the options which we can use to run the docker run command. Okay, now before that, I had showed you, right, the images. So what is the command to see the images, guys? It will be docker, then we have to use the management command. So the management command of image is image, docker image, to manage the images, to check the images, list out the images, delete, remove, edit, everything you can do using this image management command. Okay, then you can just list out for ls. Ls means it is like Unix commands only. So you have to just do docker image ls. What it will do, Okay, so what it says, got permission denied. Can anybody tell why it says permission denied?
You're a normal user. You need to log in as sudo user.
Exactly. So as I am into normal user, right? If I do who am I? So it is actually Ubuntu user, right? So this Ubuntu user. Okay, so I need to be make myself as root. So sudo su. Now I am root, right? Now I am root. If I execute the same command again, it will list out the images available in the local machine on this server. Okay, see. And last class, just basic hello world command, hello world image we had pulled out from the registry. Okay, one question last class I had told you. So when I execute the run command, Docker container run to create a container, what is the flow? How sequentially it works? Can anybody answer? How it works actually? If I execute Docker run command, what will happen?
Here and first it will search for locally this image. If it's not available, then it will connect to the registry. So from there it will download and it will execute and create the container.
Exactly. So that is the sequence, that is the flow. So whenever you execute Docker run command, right, to create a container, what will happen? It will first search the image. Which image? So what is the image actually? Can anybody tell what is image?
Image is
Image is
nothing but a
just
template.
template. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Venkat, please go ahead.
yes. So it is actually a recipe or template. It contains all the details of the containers what the container actually need, right? So whenever you execute it, so when you build, so another answer will be image is a build time object. So Docker we have two objects, right? Image and container. So image is the build time object and it is actually a recipe or recipe or template of the container. It contains all the informations, all the details what exactly a container require. Okay, so once you build that image, it will form a binary file. Okay, so image is a binary file actually. Okay, and that file will be stored on the Docker Hub registry. The registry is nothing but a binary repository. Binary repository. It stores all the images. Okay, so when you execute that, what will happen? Based on the recipe, based on the sequence available in the image, it will create the container. Okay, now let me do a small HTTPD, that Apache web server. Okay, what you'll do that if I do Docker, so what I have to use, I okay, let me show you some other commands before I can just move to the run and other commands. So if I see, if you see here, Docker pull command is there, Docker pull. So what Docker pull does actually, one second guys, let me just close down my window. Yeah. So what the Docker pull does, Docker pull will just pull an image from the registry. Okay. So if I just open to the registry, so what is that? hub.docker.com, right? So if you just check this registry, you'll find here like, okay, let me see that HTTPD, or I can search for Apache. This is the web server. I'm just going to show you how we can connect. Okay, and how you'll know that which is the genuine image and you can use it. So if you see here HTTPD, and it has one icon called official image. So this official image is the official logo, official sign of the Docker. So it is actually genuine image and you can use in your project. It will have no harm because it has verified by Docker and it has created by the Docker also. Okay, just click on this and you'll find all the informations about the HTTPD. Okay, and here you can see it is used Docker pull HTTPD. So if I use Docker pull HTTPD, what will happen? It will just pull that image from the Docker Hub registry. Okay, let me show you. Just pull HTTPD. Okay. So as I told, if I don't specify anything, only image if I specified, by default it will pull the latest version. By default it will pull the latest version. Okay. So if you want to pull out or download any specific tag or specific version, then you have to mention it over here. Okay, let's go here and in the tag section you can see, right, tag section, click on this tag. Okay, and you'll find it, see, by default is the latest, and if you want a different tag like 2.452 bullseye, or suppose I want this version 2.4.52, so what I'll do, simply just use docker pull httpd 2.452. Okay, so now we have pulled out this image. Okay, now let's see how many images will be available now. Image ls, see, we just pulled out httpd latest version, image id, and the size of the image. And when you see the created 3 weeks ago, what is this 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago was created by someone and it was put in the registry, stored in the registry 3 weeks ago. Means 3 weeks ago, this image was rebuilt. This image was rebuilt 3 weeks ago. Okay. Now let me pull out the 2.4 specific version, specific tag. So why I am telling this specific tag? Because remember guys, in the real time, whenever you work in the company, you don't have to just use HTTPD because it will get out the latest version. Always you have to specify the version and the tag, because your developer will be, developing new versions of, whenever they will change something or modify something to the code, it will generate, when they put into the repository, it will generate a new versions of code, and you want that code to be used. Then what you have to do, based on that you have to modify your image. Okay, so when you modify your image and then you rebuild that image, it will create another tag. You have to provide a different version to that, different tag to that, and same tag when you are going to deploy into production environment, you have to use the versions like this. Okay, now just hit enter. What it will do, it will just pull out, see, it just pulled out the 2.4.2.4.52. Okay, now let's see how many images will be available now. Image ls, see, we have httpd, the repository, the tag is 2.4.52 and the image id. So you can see it here, the image id are same. The image id for both httpd are same. Why? It's because the httpd image, the base image, this id, image id, is the id of the base repository system, base repository image. Okay, and whatever the tags does not matter, the image id will be same. Okay, remember this. And what happens here, I just used httpd. Okay, so what will happen now, let me okay, so I just pulled out the image from the repository. Let me, if you don't want, you feel like these are the wrong images I have pulled, and if I want to remove this image, how we can remove it? Just simply use docker image. Okay, and if you don't know the, remember the commands, you can just use --help. It will give you the sub commands. Okay, so I used recently pull and ls Okay, now if you want to use to remove this, what you will do, you can use rm command, remove one or more images. Okay, again, if you want to this history, if you want to the see the history of the image, you can just use history. If you want to inspect, display detailed information one or more image. So let's execute these commands. Docker image, okay, and suppose I just want to see it history of httpd, and I just want to go for 2.4.52. This is the history of this image I just want to see. This is the total history of the image. What are the things been used to rebuild the image? Okay, these are the docker file commands. So don't worry about this. I'll cover when I'll go to the docker file section. That time I'll show you how you can also write these commands inside a file. Okay, this is very easy once you understand, and you'll get lots of questions over there also. I'll just give each commands, and then with respect to that command, I'll tell you the questions, what are the questions you'll get it. Okay, so this is the history command to know more details about the image. Okay, now there is also one thing is that inspect. So what it will display the detailed informations of the image. This is a very good command, and we'll use this inspect um, argument and this inspect sub commands in our Docker classes and even in our Kubernetes classes also. Okay, so what we're going to see here, let me instead of history, let me just execute inspect. See, complete detailed informations in the JSON format. So in a JSON format. So JSON is Java script object notation, right? JavaScript object notation. That is a JSON format, and it is actually a key value pair. All these are stored in the key value pair. You can see here image ID, repo tag, and all these informations available. Environment, all these informations available here. Okay, so this is how you have to inspect. See, this is the inbuilt image. That's why it gives all these information. Sometimes what will happen, so you'll be thinking, right, how it will be beneficial in the real time, how I'll get in the real time. The real time you'll get it like whenever you are going to use, because see, in the current organizations, we are not going to use only one product. Suppose if you have developed any one code or one piece of module, if you want module, that is what you are not going to use alone, because that can be used by other members in your team, other members in your company, in your organization, right? So suppose Venkat has created an image. Venkat has created an image, and that image, Venkat is suppose another department in my same organization. I am working for one company, and Venkat also in the same company, but he has created an image in a different project. And when I see our database, our repository, I found that is already an image exists, and I can reuse that image for my project, right? And that time what I have to do, I have to inspect that image to see whether this image is suitable for my project also. After inspection, what I can do, if there is some modification is required, I will, what I'll do, I'll get that image as my base image. Then I'll modify it and I'll rebuild it, and it will be created under my repository. I'll create a different tag and stored on my repository. Okay, so these things, the real time, I'll show you when we will cover the Docker file section. Okay, before that, let me finish out all these commands, all these management commands and all. Then we'll move further to create our own image. Okay, that is clear, guys. Okay, now,
Yeah.
okay, now let me just delete out these images. Okay, I'll quickly do that. Image ls. So what is the command? rm command I'm going to use. ls image rm, and then you have to provide the either repository and tag, or you can provide the image id. Okay, so if I want to do httpd, so which image will it will be deleted, guys, if I give only httpd?
Both image name with HTTP both will be removed.
No, that is what again you don't remember it. If I do httpd,
It will be first one.
let,
First one.
no, it will remove the latest one. It will remove the
Yes. Last in. Yeah.
sorry.
Latest. Last in. First out. That one.
Exactly. So it will because as I told you before, if you don't specify any tag, it will by default take the latest one. The tag name is latest. That is the tag. It will take and remove it. Okay. Hit enter. See, HTTPD latest. I did not specify it. Okay. So if I do now image ls, it will be gone now. See, latest is no more there. Okay, now if I do HTTPD again, what will happen?
It will give error, I think.
Exactly, it will give error because it will not find the latest. Latest is not there.
Let
No such image. Okay, suppose if I want to remove this tag, then I have to specify it. I have to 2.4.52. Then it will, so it deleted the tag. Okay, now Docker image ls. Okay, only one image is there. I don't need this image. Let me remove this also. Docker rm. So let me use this image id. It also by image id also you can delete it. Okay, so there will be no more image available locally. Nothing there. Okay, all clear. So
So in this case, Ranjit, in this case, if you use Docker image removing, if you give image ID, both HTTPD and HTTPD 2.4.4, both will be removed, right? Because both are using same image ID.
exactly. So that's nice point actually. Venkat found it
yeah,
up.
yeah, very nice point. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So let me show you that also. Okay. So what we'll do,
yeah,
again,
yeah.
we'll quickly pull these two images and we'll do that. Pull HTTPD. Okay. So now it is pulling the latest one. Okay. If I did not provided anything, so it pulled out the latest one, and then we'll pull out the 2.4 version. Okay. 2.4.5. Okay. Now we'll have two images with same ID. Okay. Image ls. Sorry, spelling mistake. Image ls. So we can see here same image ID. Let me delete this. Let's see what is happening. Image rm. Then it is a conflict error. It must be forced. If you don't use only, if you use only rm, then it will throw you the conflict, because it is now getting conflicted which image you want to delete it. If you want to delete forcefully, then what you have to use, rm hyphen f option. Rm hyphen f. Hit enter. See, it is now both deleted. It will be a you may or may not get a questions, but it is very nice point to remember. If anything you are not able to delete, it must be forcefully, because the command itself got conflict as it has multiple repository with the same id. So it is confused which id, which particular repository need to be untagged or deleted. To remove all images, you can just have to forcefully remove it. Okay, now you can see if I do here docker image ls, see, nothing is there. Okay, this is how you can use ops hyphen f option. Okay, to know more about this rm, you can easily do that by using hyphen hyphen help to see else. Okay, see, it has only one option, -f, or you can use --force. Okay. Okay, if you don't want to delete the parent one, do not delete untagged parents, you can use --no frame to keep the parents, and it will be deleted the child, but the parents will be there. Okay, so now we are clear about the images and all. Okay, now we don't have any images, so let's do a small project, quick project, and create a container, and this container will be web-based container, and we'll see how you can access this container from outside the world. This, when I create this container and provide the respective firewall, you can also access from your system. Okay, so let me do that. So how we'll create? Simple, you have to use Docker container. Okay, run command. Run command is to create and run a container, right? So to run command, what we have to pass? We have to pass the image name. Okay, run httpd. Let me run with the latest version. Okay, I can either give simple httpd, it will run the latest one. If I give httpd, if you want specifically give latest, then I can provide it, but I don't need this. Let it enter, or I can just give 2.4.52.
It is tag is the most means tag was need to be given, or automatically it will take the latest.
So remember what I told, you should always provide the tag when you are working in your project or an organization. See,
Okay.
because whenever you rebuild
Because
the image, every time it will create a new tags, and you have to be make sure you are giving the correct tag to create the container. You have to give the correct tag to create the container. Okay.
okay, like that in Git also, when you are creating the branches or something like commit ID, we are creating the tag. Same thing here also you have to do.
Same thing, because same we are going to store in the registry repository. So when you store the
Yeah,
repository,
yes,
it's a different tag, right? So that tag you have to
yeah, yeah.
put it here. Okay, if you don't
Okay,
give
same
any,
concept
if you don't
only.
give anything, then by default it will take the latest tag. Okay.
Okay, okay.
So now, guys, here we have lot more things to learn about this run command. Okay, there are lots of things I am just going to show you. So here, if you see, I did not specify anything. I simply ran this run httpd. Here, what happens? It ran this container. It just run this image and created the container. But this container, you can see, it is running in the foreign. The container is now running. Okay, then why it is stuck in this terminal in the foreground? Because the nature of this image and the template and the recipe has a command is called httpd-d foreground. You can see it here, it is written. Because of this, it is now attached to the terminal and it is running in the foreground. Okay, if you want to terminate this, if you just press Ctrl C, it's just terminated, and it's shutting down the container. The container is now shut down. If I see it here, Docker container, to list out the container, you can use Docker container ls. Hit enter. So nothing is there. Why, guys? Last class I
You
told.
have forcefully stopped it, right?
Okay.
Because it's already terminated. So
Okay. If it is terminated also, it will be there, right? But why it is not displaying?
I think we need to use Docker container ls-a to see what are the existed
date
containers.
Exactly.
date container.
So remember, by default, this container ls command will display us only the running container information. It will give us the only the running container. As our container is terminated, shut down, So it is now in exited state. It will be in exited status. That's why it is not displaying the same command. So if I use ls-a to display all, means whether it is running or exited or stopped, anything, it will display. See, our container is there, right? Let me just make it little.
So it's a hidden file, right?
One second.
Usually,
Sorry, Ranjit.
hyphen A is like a hidden file to be displayed. So usually that container which already that
Yes.
will be displayed in this command ls hyphen A.
Yeah. So normally what happen in Unix command, if you do ls-a, it will give you the hidden file informations. Okay. But in Docker, if Docker the same ls they are using, but it gives us the a means it will display all existing containers. Okay. Whether it is running or exited or stopped or shut down, whatever, everything, all existed containers it will display, not hidden. Here it will not be treated as hidden, it will be as all. Hyphen a means it will give us all containers, all existing containers. Okay, so here we can see, okay, let me explain about these details, right? Let me make a little bit lower also this one, so it will be clear. I'm just making this font little down. Okay, so it is in one line. Now we can see here the container ID. Remember, whatever I will explain you, you should remember all this. This will be useful when you go and move further with your container and your Docker and Kubernetes project. Okay, this container ID is unique. This container ID unique. In n number of containers you will create, it will give a different unique IDs. And this image is, it will give the image details, which image is used to create the container, and the command, which command is executed as part of this container creation, and created, when it was created, what is the current status, it's exited about a minute ago, and the ports, we don't have specified any ports, that's okay, and the names of the container, here is the container ID and here is the container name. You can see here this container name is randomly chosen. We have not given a container name, we have not given a container name. So what happened here, it randomly chosen by the Docker. If you want to give a specific name, then you have to specify it while creating the container. Okay, how you will do it, you can use hyphen name and give a name. Suppose I can give my web app, my web app, this container name I gave as my web app, so it will just give a name as web app. Okay, so when I execute this container run, what will happen, it will again stuck in the terminal. Okay, now I don't want this to be run in the terminal, stuck in the terminal, I want to run this in the background. I want to send this in the background, or you can say in the detached mode, because when I give with the same command, by default it will attach to the terminal. I don't want to be attached to the terminal, I want this to be detached mode. So what's the option, you can use hyphen d, or you can use hyphen detach, or you can just simply use short form hyphen d. Okay, let's see what's happening here now. See, it went to the background and only gave us the container ID. Only gave us the container ID, and it is detached from the terminal. If I do now docker container ls, see, container ID, image used, command created, and status, it is up, means it is running. It will run until unless we kill it or terminate it. It will run. Then it is used a port. The port name is, the port is 80 because HTTPD default port is 80, right? 80 TCP. And see, I gave a name to it, right? My web app. Now my container has my web app. Here, if you see, it was randomly chosen by the Docker. In number of time you create container, if you don't specify any name to it, it will be randomly chosen by the Docker and it will create name, any name, just choose it. Okay.
That the default name that will be is like unique or is
Unique,
same name only.
unique. The same name you cannot give a container, existing container, you cannot give the same name. Okay, so let's do that. If you are into same name, here I have given, suppose my web app already a container running, and if I run my web app the same name, let's see what is happening. Okay, hit enter. See, it gives error. Response from daemon conflict. The container name is already used by container. Okay, it's already used by container. Now what we'll see, if I do docker ls, sorry, container ls, so we have only one container running. But if I do ls -a to see all existing container, so we have now two containers are there, right? One was exited 7 minutes ago and it was a different name, and this container is running. Okay, remember guys, -d is the detached mode. Okay, now we saw,
A small doubt, Ranjit.
yeah,
Small doubt.
please,
I'm not sure whether it is relevant.
yeah,
And now, can you hit the public IP of this instance in the Go?
that I'll do, and then next time I'm going to show you that, don't worry. Okay, so now yes, now what I'm going to tell you, as our container is running, but how we can access this container. This is a web application, my application is running, but how I'll access my web application? The container is running, I can see the container is running. If I go here and get the public IP, that is what I'm just going to say you, Venkat, so don't worry. So if I just hit this one and let's see what will happen, it will not able to access anything because my see my container is running. Then how, then why I cannot access this container? Because we have not published the port to outside world. It is only the, in the port, whatever port we are seeing it here, it is the container port. We need to publish this port to outside world so that the host port, this is now the container port. Remember, this is the container port, and the container port is inside the container and it is not yet published outside, so that we cannot able to access it. How we can access our application which is running inside a container? That's our main goal, right? So for that, what we can use an option. Let me first terminate all this container. Okay, let me terminate this container. So how we can terminate the container? Same, use container rm. Okay, and let's delete rm. Okay, so it's deleted now. But if I delete this, what will happen? If I delete this, it will not allow me to delete because the container is running. Okay, so you cannot remove a running container. So to remove the container, first you have to stop the container and then delete it. Two ways you can do. First, stop the container, then delete it, or you can forcefully delete the container. Okay, forcefully delete the container. To remove the container forcefully, you can use rm-f option. Okay, if you don't want to forcefully do that, you have to do clean deletion, what you can do, you can just do docker container stop. Let's stop the container. Okay, so now my container is stopped. If I do container ls, see, ls hyphen a, so it is exited 11 seconds ago, it is exited. Now if I want to delete it, I can just use now it is deleted. Okay, if I do docker container ls hyphen a, nothing is there. Okay, so all cleaned. What I had done in the last command executions, I just created the container, but I was not able to access it because I did not publish the port, container port, to the outside world. To access the container, to access the application running inside the container, we have to publish the container port to the host port. Okay, so how we can do that? Let me show you. So you can use docker container. Okay, docker container, just give hyphen d. Okay, no, just give run hyphen d, just give a name to it, hyphen name equal to, I can give web app 1, suppose this is the web app 1, and just give the port which you want to publish it. So by default the Apache server port is 80. So what, suppose I just want to publish the container port to the host port 80. So what I have to do, hyphen p, okay, 80 colon 80. I'll just explain it, don't worry. Then give the image name httpd 2.4.52. Okay, so what is here, guys? Let me just copy and clear the screen. Okay, so what is here? Let me explain this commands. So I used docker container run hyphen d will be in detached mode. I gave a name to the container, and hyphen p is to publish the container port to the host port. Okay, so remember, in this manner, the first one is the container port and this one is the host port. So what I'm going to do, I'm publishing this container port to the host port. Okay, this is very important to remember. The first one will be your host port and the second one will be your container port, and this is the image I'm going to use it. Okay, now let's hit enter and see what is happening. Good, it is created a container. So let me just see what is there in the container. Just use the docker ls hyphen, oh sorry, container ls. See here the container id, image name, all this running. You can see the ports has now changed and it is giving like this. Okay, it is giving because the container port is forwarded to the host port and the name is web1. Okay, now if I go here, and refresh this page, it will give me the application. See, my container, now I can access this container, it works. Okay guys, you can type this port IP address in your machine and check whether it is working or not. 13.235.75.100. Even also you can also try, it will work worldwide, in the world everywhere. If you type this IP address, it will work. The container is in my system in this machine, but it will work everywhere. Just check it.
Yes, it's working.
It's working,
It's
right?
working.
Yeah, so it will work everywhere. Okay, now let me show more details about that, how we can change something, and how we can see more details about this container all. Okay, now I was telling about the inspect command, right? The same inspect command, sub command also is there in container management command. If I do docker container, okay, hyphen health, you'll find the inspect command as well. See, here we'll see we have the inspect command, and it gives display the detailed information of the container. That inspect we used for image to give detailed information about the image. Here we are going to use the same inspect here to know more detailed about the container, right? So let's get the container ID first. ls this is the container ID. Okay, now I want to inspect it and see. You'll get all the information about the container. Okay, now docker container, sorry, should be used inspect. See, complete details about the container ID, what time it is created, the path, the argument, the status running, image ID, and what is the path. Okay, and what is the host port, 8080, sorry, host port is 80. Okay, and all these informations you can find at the lower directory, environment. See, what is the HTTP version we use, 2.4.52. Okay, all these informations available, and what is the working directory, all these volumes, image, entry point, working directory, everything I will explain you, and this is very important, guys. Okay, all these informations I will just give you. So user locally, so remember this, I'll just user local Apache 2. When I go inside a container, I'll show you all this information. Okay, okay, all these details are there. We'll learn when we move forward to the Docker. Okay, now you know how to, now you know how to see here the IP address of the container IP address, and network ID. Okay, network ID, the MAC address, all these informations are available here. Okay, don't worry, all these things will cover once we move forward with more details about the Docker. Okay, now so remember this path, user local Apache 2. I'm going to show you very quickly. Now question will be come to your mind, how we can go inside a container. Now we can access the container from outside. Now we can access the container from outside, but how we can go inside a container? Okay, our container is now running, right? Container ls, so it is running. How can I go inside this container? That's very important, because while troubleshooting something, this is a troubleshooting part, you sometimes may require to go inside a container and check what is happening. Okay, that's very important. So how I can go inside a container? You can use -exec option. Okay, docker container -exec. Okay, -exec, give the container ID. Okay, and give some command to execute. Suppose I'll give win bash. So when I go inside and go inside this container, I will be executing this bash, and it will allow me to go inside the bash terminal of the Docker. Okay, just hit enter. Exit spelling mistake. Exec. Okay. It's not -exec, only exec. Okay. Let me just go and check for help. Help of this exec command. Okay. Data's environment list hyphen e. Okay, that is where I did a mistake of I have to use few other options. Only exec will not work. I missed to use other options. It's called exec hyphen it. See, we have to use interactive mode and then terminal to attach to the container terminal interactively. So you have to use hyphen it, exec hyphen it, then the container ID and the terminal to be used. So hit enter. See, now I am inside the container. This is the container ID, right? This is the container ID. Let me exit out from here. I exited. Now I am into my machine, right? This is my machine. I want to go inside the container. So you have to use Docker container exec hyphen it and then container ID and the command to execute. Hit enter. Now I'm inside the container. And I showed you while inspecting the container ID, there was some kind of working directory. This working directory is the directory from when you create a container from where you are instructing the container to work. What is the working directory? That we are going to specify. So if I see it here, it will have all this web application informations. These are the web application details. Okay, so let me go htdocs, and if I refresh this, it will be, it works only, right? Let me modify something to the application. Okay, directly I'm modifying inside a container. I entered inside a container, going to modify it. Okay, just go to the htdocs, and here you'll find the index.html file, right? I'm going to modify this index.html file. This vi may not be there. Okay, this vi is not there. So what I can do now, okay, let's use nano index.html. Okay, nano command also not there. Okay, so this vi is not working because the vi command is not there with this httpd, and nano also not there. Okay, now there is a challenge. Let's see how we can modify.
gedit.
No, vi, it will not work. Vim, right? It will not.
Gedit.
Edit.
G for
G.
God.
Acha, gedit. Let's see this one. Just HTML. No, it's not there. That's fine. Now my aim is to just edit this index file and see how it is working. Now I'm going to teach you another command which is very helpful, that is called cp, copy command. Okay, how we can copy a file to a run inside a running container. Okay, now this is the path we need to remember. Okay, let me just exit out from here. Okay, let me create vi index.html outside, and I quickly add some html file here. html. Okay, I'll just give something called vr vr. Okay, I'll give something called center. uh, Hello, Doctor. Center. Okay. Now, H1. I'll give this H1 tag here. Okay, I just created one index file, index.html file. I want this file, this application, this is my application. Now I want this application, my container should have this application. Okay, I just want to update this index.html to the path of this htdocs. So how I can do that? I can use a cp command, docker container cp. Okay, so if you want to know more about this, same thing you have to do, container hyphen health. It will give you the cp. So what it means, copy files or folders between a container and the local file system. Okay, if you want to between container and local file system, you can use cp to do that. So let's do that. I can use docker container cp. Okay, so what I need, index.html file. Okay, now you have to specify the path, this with container id with the path. Okay, now the container id, and thus I can just copy this and paste it here. What happened here? See how you have to write it. I just used docker container cp index.html and the container id colon these details. Okay, now hit enter. See, it is now copied the index.html from locally to the container. If I refresh it now, see, now my application has changed. Now I deployed a new version of application. It is working now. Hello, Docker. Now you see how you can access it from outside world and how you can copy the file. There are a lot more to learn, guys. Okay, so what I would suggest you, just try to do practice. Okay, and by using this hyphen help options, try to find it out where more different more details you can get it, and you can do all these informations. Okay, so now um, you can.
Here, Ranjit, here, whenever try to copy,
Mhm.
every time it will be overwrite.
Yes, yes, it will override.
Whenever, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. If you want to append it,
See, append, it's not the way you have to do append it. For that, actually, we have to write Docker file. I'll show you, don't worry. Copy will be overwrite.
okay.
Anything you copy, it will be
Yeah,
overwrite.
yeah.
It will not. You cannot append during copy. Okay? Only thing you have to append is,
Mhm.
suppose you want to append something, then you have to locally append to that file. If you want to append something to this index.html file, then you have to edit locally
Yeah.
where the project has to be, then you have to copy it, right? So this
Mhm.
this copy actually being used for ad hoc basis, or something you urgently need, you have to copy something to the container. But this is not the actual way to do that, because container is very crucial and will have our critical applications running. If suppose my team and yeah, suppose four members are there and I was in the team, and so I copied some important file to the container, and my container is required some file, ad hoc file that may require to execute something in the applications, and I copied it and it worked. Okay, but in my absence, if the container got terminated, if the container got terminated, what will have to do, the other person, he has to trigger another container. It will have the same applications. When it trigger the application, it will create another container, and that container will not have this file which I had copied. Then it will not work properly, because it will may depend on the another file, and that person is not aware about that. So how this can be fixed, and how this can be taken care? That is the simple way. Whenever you want to do something the application level, to change, to modify, it is always a best practice and always the best suggestion to do changes to the image file, to do changes to the image file. When you run the image to create the container, by default, based on the recipe, that file will be automatically copied while the container creation. Then you don't have to worry about at all. Anytime you need some changes, stop this container, kill the container, trigger another container after modifying the image. So these all the details, whatever I'm saying, everything I'll show you in the project. When you will do the project, end-to-end project, that project I'll show you, and you'll completely understand what modifications is required real time when you are going to deal with containers. Okay, so okay, now our container is running. Okay, now I want to see some logs, some troubleshooting part, right? If something happens, you can use the logs command, you can use the stats command, the status of the, and you can check the usage of the resource usage by checking the processes, right? So let's do that, and I can use Docker container. All these commands are for container management command. Okay, so we can use top, Docker container top, to see what are the processes being used by the container. Okay, so hit enter. See, same thing like Unix, we also get it here. The UID, the PID, the PPID, okay, and the times, what are the time, and the root, okay, the commands, what are the commands are running, all these informations you will get it. Okay, now what we'll see the status of that. Stats display the live streaming of the container resource usage. Okay, so you can use this stats. See, the CPU usage, the application name, it is taking only 0.00 because it does not have anything. It's just simply text printing, right? And the memory usage and the limit is that, and memory 1.5 point, like this, everything will log PIDs, everything will get it. Okay, just press, oh, sorry, this control. Okay, now you can see here it is just displaying all the status. Okay, now let's see the logs, what the logs gives us. It will give the complete logs about the container, what is given. Okay, see, all these logs it will give. So these commands, whatever I showed you, logs, stats, top, these are the troubleshooting commands, and it will be during the production support, right? That time it will be useful. That time it will be useful to troubleshoot some container issues. If there is some issues, if you want to troubleshoot, you can use these commands. Logs, okay, and stats, okay, and this start and stop, start a container, stop a container, and if you want to rename a container, you can use. These are very simple commands, guys, and you can try yourself at home, and this is a task for you. Try to practice at home and all these sub commands and see what is the details is given here. Okay, and this is very important command also, one of the commit. Sometimes what happens actually, if a container is running and you have to create an image out of that. By using this commit command, you can create a new image. I'll show you, don't worry, from a containers changes. Suppose, okay, so when you need this commit and why you need it. So when you when I did it here, what I did here, I just copied a file index.html to the containers path. Now my container had changed. Whenever I initially created it, it was different, and I copied a file. That means it is changed. Now I want to create an image out of that. I can use commit to create the image of the container. So next time when I want the same container to run, then I can use that image to create it, and it will create the same container again. This part I'll show you now next class. Okay, so most of the main commands run we learned today, and we are going to see a lot more other commands also related to that. And in our next class, I'll show you. So all this, whatever we did it, we did just the inbuilt image, which is already exist in the registry. Okay, in our next class, what we'll see, I'll show you how we can create our own image. Okay? Our own image. That is what important. That is what you need to work in your organization, in your project. When the developer gives you all the product, all the project, okay, the code based on the requirement, based on the design, you have to write the template, you have to write the recipe to create the image. Okay, so once that image is created, that you have to store in the registry. That I'll completely show you how we can create that, and how we can create different tags out of that, and then how you can use even Jenkins to build your image and put it into the registry. That also I'll show you. In my registry, let me just log into my registry. I'll show you. Um, 1 second. Okay, so I just logged in as Docker for Ranjit. This is my registry ID. Okay, so I have a few images stored here. Okay, let me show you. So let's go to my profile, and here I have Apache UI, web app demo, and all. Okay, so let's click on this and see. If I go to the tags, okay, it has only one tag. Okay, let me go to another one. So when I'll show you the multiple tags. Okay, just 1 second. Yes. Okay. Profile. If I go here, web app demo, I think it has multiple tags. Good. So this tags is nothing but the Jenkins build ID. These are nothing but the Jenkins build ID. Okay, this was automatically stored by Jenkins. I'll show you how this can be achieved through Jenkins also. Okay, so the entire project, once I finish Docker, then we'll move to so we create the project. First, I'll create a separate project for Docker, only Docker. Using Docker, you can create the project, and then with the help of Jenkins, both CI and CD, how we can achieve it, right? Similarly, like I showed you in Ansible also, right? In Ansible, how we did it using Jenkins. The same thing also for once we finish Docker, that how we can integrate Docker with Jenkins. That also in real time. Okay. Okay, guys, that's all for today. In our next class, most probably Saturday, 8:30 same time, we'll connect, and I'll just cover the Docker file and a lot more other commands to know, and then we'll jump into the Docker Compose. Docker Compose is another tool of Docker to manage multi-container. So using Docker commands and run, we just create single containers and manage. Sometimes there will be multi-containers to achieve the microservices part. We can use the Docker Compose to create and manage multi-container. Okay, so let's do that. 1 second. Okay, maybe in our next class I'll show you all these details. Okay, guys. So do you have any questions? We can discuss now.